Hey folks, Craig Danger, we're back and we're talking about Record Store Day 2026 today. I'm being told through the YouTube and the vinyl community that this may be the best record store day ever. Coming up in April, I'm here to give you the goods. I'm here to give it to you right now. So hey, sit down, relax, grab yourself a beverage, and you know what? Buckle up. And we're back talking about Record Store Day 2026. The list has been revealed, and is it the best list that's ever been released? I'm going to say no. First of all, I guess I haven't been paying that much attention to lists, but my sense is this is just not a great list. It's a fairly average list. I could go on at length about how many amazing soul and R&B titles are pretty much absolutely absent and never even talked about on Record Store Day, but I won't go into that. But you know what? I can at least say that there's 5 releases that I would say, oh yeah, that would be buyable if I had the ability to buy it and it wasn't an absolute cash grab. Oh my God, you just stole the shirt off my back, bro. Type of pricing, let's just say I consider it. Stick around to the end, by the way, when I will talk about 5 absolutely absurd albums that really just maybe don't even have any business existing, but the fact that they do show the absolute bottom of the record industry barrel that these things are even being released. Garbage is what I'm saying. Absolute cash grab, worst sellout, ugh. But in the meantime, let's talk about Record Store Day. So Record Store Day is obviously its annual thing, but it doesn't mean that Record Store Day isn't important sort of from a historical point of view, and frankly, again, anything that kind of keeps records selling. So the fact that, you know, record stores get a lot of profit from this, that keeps them open, so that my bargain hunting ass can come down and be like, hey, I'm ready to buy this. Okay, I love it. But let's talk about 5 releases that I think should really be looked at. And I'm going to start out with number 1, my favorite of them, and that is a repress, re-release double album set of 1971's Little Feat by Little Feat. In my opinion, this is the best Little Feat album. If you're going to buy one Little Feat album, buy Little Feat, and go home. If you're a person who's like, hey, I could like Little Feat, but this New Orleans boogie barrel piano business, it's not my groove, buy this album. If you're someone who's like, you know what, I have the live album, which is good, but I've heard some of those other albums, and again, I'm not feeling it. This is your album. I've said this consistently on this channel, and that is simply that Little Feat is absolutely Little Feat's only must-have. This album sold absolutely nothing when it came out. It basically was a debut for Lowell George after having recorded with such luminaries as Frank Zappa. This is an absolutely amazing ass record. Ry Cooder's on this record. To me, it sounds a lot like basically outtakes from Exile on Main Street, which is a similar period. It's possible even that the Rolling Stones were influenced by this record, although I would say probably unlikely. But again, this sounds like the punky, more angsty teenage version of the Rolling Stones of that era. I think it's an absolute killer record. Lowell George really at his best. And again, this is fairly straightforward rock and roll. There's not a lot of this gumbo sort of rolling bayou groove that I think really kind of imperils most of the rest of Little Feat's material. Do I hate the rest of Little Feat's material? No. Do I like it? Not really. But this album is probably one of my top 20 albums of all time. And this Record Store Day, they're releasing not only the original version, which again is in need of a deep repress, we think, but second of all, there's also a second album with basically all alternative versions of this particular album, which in my opinion is fantastic. It's absolutely something that should have come out a long time ago. And would I consider buying it? Absolutely I would. Now, I don't know what the price on this big dog is going to be. I imagine it's going to be absurd, so we'll see. But again, Little Feat, easily one of the most underrated albums of the 1970s, just simply because nobody bought it. And frankly, this is not the Little Feat that you know if you don't know this album. it's highly worth a listen. So my number one pick from Record Store Day is an album that, woo, damn did this need to be coming out, and maybe even coming out sooner. Little Feat, in a double package. I'm sure they'll put it on 180 gram vinyl. Absolutely, you're going to see Craig Ninja buying this. I mean, probably be more pictures, maybe a little write-up. There's not much to this cover. It is what it is. So that, of course, is number one. And thanks again for tuning in. I would say don't forget to like, helps the video. Subscribe, helps the channel. Also, if you're already a subscriber, make sure that all notifications are clicked on. You will receive as much Craig Danger material as you can stomach. Let me tell you. But I would ask you, since I probably have some collectors here, is there something that you're particularly interested in at Record Store Day? Am I completely and utterly wrong that it isn't the best Record Store Day ever? Or if it is, tell me why. Put it in the comments. I would definitely love to hear from you. Number two, I want to talk about Gil Scott-Heron. I like Gil Scott-Heron. Problem with Gil Scott-Heron? All of his albums are expensive. Do I expect Reflections from 1981 to not be expensive? Of course not. It's going to be super expensive. But again, any Gil Scott-Heron albums that we can insert into the supply will probably lower the price of Gil Scott-Heron albums. Would I have all of his albums if I could buy them for $15 or $20 each? Yes. The problem with Gil Scott-Heron albums is that they start at 40. Sometimes they're 50, sometimes they're 60. It's always going to be a difficulty for anyone to get Gil Scott-Heron albums on the cheap just because, again, he was a very niche performer. This is a guy who did not have gold and platinum records. But adding to the supply in any way, in my opinion, is a win. And again, Gil Scott-Heron, you're still talking about 81. That's a reasonable period for Gil, I think. So absolutely, this would be one that I don't have in my collection that I would be keenly interested, particularly if that album was under $40, which, I mean, you know, a guy can dream, okay? Let's talk about Quality Control, and I'll be brief. I know we don't have a lot of hip-hop people out here, but Quality Control by Jurassic 5 is one of the last great old-school hip-hop albums. It is fantastic. It brings me back to the golden age, back pre-Paul's Boutique, where artists could have a ton of samples on their records and it would be fantastic. And you'd just be like, oh my God, these are great. I love this music. Quality Control is that album. I've always loved this album. From the first time it came out, I used to lift weights to this album and work out and all this other crap. Still think it's a classic album. I think it's great that they're repressing it. I think it's on a 2-record set, which is fine. Also, I believe they're pressing about 3,000 copies. That's not a lot. But again, for an artist like Jurassic 5, who literally, I'm sure 95% of the people watching this video are like, Jurassic who? Classic album. That's all I'll say. Absolute winner, and I'm glad that they're pressing that. That would be something I would consider buying. Again, despite the fact that the period, I don't love hip-hop from this later period, but certainly Jurassic 5, old school style, incredible, and Danger approved. Next up, I certainly normally would not be a guy to be like, oh, gotta get this, but how about Stax Killer Bees? A collection of B-sides from what I'm guessing is the 68 to 75 period for Stax Records. What did Stax Records do? Create some of the best Southern soul ever, and as a result, again, there hasn't been much of this type of release that's come out recently, and I can only be positive on it. It's Stax. When I see Stax releases, I'm always intrigued because they don't press everything onto record. There's a lot of stuff they're still trying to put on CD, and when I see a record like this, I'm like, oh, very interesting. Do I have some of the more complete box sets? And maybe I already have this material? Yes. But would I like to see it on an album? Absolutely, I would. And Stax Killer Bees, to me, kind of, you know, it's perfect for Record Store Day. Again, if I'm seeing this under $30, it's an album that I'm going to buy. Next up, again, another one, Joni Mitchell, For the Roses. Now, is For the Roses a difficult album to get? No. You certainly, I think, in almost any record store in America, you can pick that up for, I don't know, $15, $20 at most. I've seen it in $5 bins. Is For the Roses her best album? No, also. But This one's cool because it has different cover art. Apparently the original cover art. The reason why this even has an original cover art is apparently because people thought that it looked like a bunch of roses coming out of a horse's ass. So I get it. Whatever the case, anything kind of Joni Mitchell in that period, I'm a big fan of. So this would be something I consider, but maybe not. And then finally, more of on a kind of a late Britpop level. Here Come the Tears by the Tears. This, of course, if you don't know the Tears, they basically were a reformed Suede, at least the main perpetrators in Suede, that being, of course, Bernard Butler and Brett Anderson. Now, is this the best record ever? No, but again, Refugees, absolutely banging single, brings me back to kind of that early 90s Suede, which is very lovely stuff. Certainly those first couple of records with Bernard Butler, they're the best Suede. It just simply is what it is. This, I think, is a really good album and probably something that's due to be pressed and released like this. Again, there's not a lot of copies, but this would be something that I would consider on an under $30 level. So, those are what I would consider the good releases. There's a lot of stuff in there that I just honestly have no clue about. But I will say, there are at least 5 items that are absolute trash. And are you kidding me? Why are we even releasing this? Number 1 has got to be, for me, a Special Kiss tour album. Apparently this is basically a 4-track album that was originally part of a promo that was originally released in the Destroyer tour in 76. These are all singles that are available. These are all on the Destroyer album or albums in and around there. This is just another instance of Kiss cashing in on a fan base that apparently you could shovel literally anything at them, and unfortunately they're buying. They're printing 10,000 copies of this, which is 10 times more than almost any of the other interest artists that I've basically talked about. My thing with Kiss and the special tour album, just don't buy it. Just don't give them that little bit of goodness. Don't give them your money. So number 1 is Kiss, a tour album, 4 songs that have been released before that, I mean, I guess for sort of history's sake, maybe you could get, but again, just don't give them your money. Just don't do it. Number 2 on my list, 5-ish singles, including Get Off of My Cloud, Heart of Stone, Play with Fire, Honky Tonk Women, Mother's Little Helper, all released on the Abco label, all Rolling Stone singles, all in a 3-inch format. What the hell is a 3-inch format, first of all? That sounds like the kind of record that one would get out of a box of cereal, which, no, do not buy. But second of all, don't buy because the Rolling Stones won't even get money here. This is again an Alan Klein project where basically everything before 70 is basically owned by Alan Klein and probably his relatives. So this is just a cash-in that not even the Rolling Stones, the most corporate rock and roll band ever now, they're not even going to get a dime. Old Keith ain't getting a dime out of this one. Mick, no, not a penny. Well, maybe they'll get a little bit. But again, this behavior is not something that we should reward. So please, 3-inch singles, first of all, the format is terrible. Second of all, again, we don't need to do this. Does it come with a little poster? Maybe it does, but that poster's got to be pretty damn good because I can imagine that these will be very expensive for what they are, which is, again, a 3-inch single, not a 7-inch single, a 3-inch single. So anything Rolling Stones, please avoid this. One of the ones I think that qualifies as who in what I don't understand, I'm so confused. Is there a reason why this should exist? Is a triple LP live from Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Spectrum. It could only be The Power Station. Which again, to me, I don't know if you know The Power Station. Many people wouldn't. The Power Station were basically a couple of members of Duran Duran, Robert Palmer, they get together for an album. They released Some Like It Hot. It goes top 10. They release a cover of Get It On, Bang a Gong, the classic T-Rex number. And then I think they're pretty much out. They might have had a second album. Who knows? This triple live album recorded in Philadelphia, hilariously enough, is not even really The Power Station. It's a couple of members of Duran Duran with no Robert Palmer. So again, why you would release this makes absolutely no sense. First of all, I don't think that there's very many Power Station fans just a pining for that live record. But second of all, Robert Palmer isn't on it, man. Robert Palmer isn't on it. We got some guy named Michael Debar. Hey, Michael, do what you want. But again, you're not the Power Station. You're not in the Power Station. So again, the fact that this is a triple album, please, I don't even want to start. There's about 2 songs on each side here. So this, to me, is not only a completely and utterly useless record, but also who asked for it? Who was like, you know what? I would like live material by, basically one-off group like the Power Station. But you know what? I want to make sure that the lead singer, the famous guy, he shouldn't be on that album. Can we release that? Oh, and can we also make it into a triple LP so that it's practically unplayable and the most annoying record ever? Yes, let's do that. I don't really have anything more to say about that, thankfully. Next up, another live record. How about Tales from Topographic Tours? This is consistently seen, of course, Tales of Topographic Oceans as Yes's most indulgent and ridiculous album. So why not press some live recordings of this? Again, it doesn't make sense. Don't do it. It's a cash-in. And again, maybe it somehow turns the album around and makes it into a less pretentious giant item. No, it won't do that. I can guarantee you it won't do that. And then finally, for an absolute non-pick, it's got to go to Jeff Buckley, live at L'Olympia in Paris. Again, for me, this record feels so cash-in because here's the point about Jeff Buckley that a lot of people need to remember. He had a 1-album career. Just is what it is. He died, he drowned, super tragic stuff, echoes of his dad, Tim, just terrible stuff. But again, he had 1 album worth of material. Every single record store day, they're trying to pump out some kind of new release. This, of course, being a live record. Again, I just don't think it's necessary. There was that second album that was like a collection of outtakes. Again, there wasn't maybe even really a full album there, but they keep scouring the bin for Jeff Buckley. And I think at this point, this record has got to be just kind of the embarrassment that stops the whole thing. So, as my final definitely don't buy it pick, Jeff Buckley, live at L'Olympia, unless you're like an absolute ridiculous fan. But again, he has 1 album. Listen to that 1 album. It's all good. So anyway, if you're still here, like, subscribe. Those were my absolute pans, my do not pick for this session. But again, thank you for kicking around here, staying with me for my Record Store Day 2026 review. I'm going to have to see you on the next one.